Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And I know we just talked about Xbox Game Pass yesterday, but they just will not stop. They did reveal two more huge games, day one releases actually, that will be releasing later this month into Xbox Game Pass. Like I said, it just never really stops for Xbox Game Pass, so we will go over that one later on today. And then also, the rumors were true after all. PlayStation VR2 has officially been revealed with all of the specs included, and a pretty exciting game on top of that that could change everything, so we'll go over that one as well. To start things off today, though, we do have a little bit of unfortunate news to go over regarding Ken Levine's highly anticipated next game. Now, if you don't know who Ken Levine is, he's worked on games like System Shock 2, BioShock, and BioShock Infinite, and really was one of the main reasons that those games turned out as good as they did. So it's really pretty easy to see why so many people are excited to see what he's going to do next. That's kind of the thing, though, because Ken Levine's no longer working on BioShock. Actually, a completely different studio is working on the next BioShock game, but instead here with his rebranded studio Ghost Story Games, he's been working on a brand new project since 2014. So this game has been in development for 8 years, and you would think maybe we might see it possibly in here of 2022, but it's starting to sound like that's not going to be the case after all. Unfortunately, a new report did come out over by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, which is reporting that from anonymous developers that's worked on this project is stating that this game is not even close to releasing. Sounds like it's still at least 2 years away, and a large part of this is because the management style of Ken Levine himself. I will leave a link in the description below for the entire article if you do want to read that, but it does sound like he's a bit of a perfectionist, and because of that, certain parts of the game has been scrapped and the direction for the game has changed periodically, but at the same time, there's still some hope within the company that this game will eventually be brilliant when it does release. In terms of development, it definitely sounds messy to say the least, to the point that some of the developers have grown frustrated and have left the company entirely. But as for fans yourself, it does sound like you're going to have to wait at least a few more years before you do eventually see this game. Hopefully it does turn out to be as good as what they are expecting to be, because 10 years in development, that's a long time, and that's a big investment. Next up, we do have another success story to talk about today, as Ghost of Tsushima has officially sold 8 million units worldwide. Of course, it did get a nice little boost with that Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut for the PlayStation 5, but this is absolutely huge for a brand new IP. You don't typically see new IPs sell this well, but I think this kind of shows you the power of PlayStation first-party studios. Of course, not every first-party game is going to sell well, but when it comes to their big AAA first-party games, I think that they've built a lot of trust with the community, and the community kind of knows what to expect with these games, and more often than not, they do turn out to be high-quality single-player experiences. And Ghost of Tsushima very much was that. It also helps that this game is absolutely stunning in terms of its visuals, which is always going to be a big selling point. And really, I think even to this day, even though Ghost of Tsushima launched on the PlayStation 4, I still believe this is one of the best looking games on the market visually. On top of that, this is a fun game to play, and it really is well deserving of 8 million units sold. I think for Ghost of Tsushima fans, though, what's going to be exciting is to see what happens with this franchise going forward. With this game being such a big success this early on, you can already see Sony kind of doubling down on this franchise. Of course, they did add that multiplayer component to Ghost of Tsushima, and there was also the Director's Cut that came to the PlayStation 5, but interestingly enough, at CES, where they did announce that this game had sold 8 million units, they did this while talking about their upcoming movies and films, and well, it's now official, they do have a Ghost of Tsushima movie in development as well as a Twisted Metal series. Both of these have been rumored previously, but they have now officially been confirmed. Either way, though, big congrats to Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Tsushima fans, because I do expect there to be plenty more in store for you all coming soon. Okay, so we need to talk about Xbox and Xbox Game Pass yet again, because they just will not stop. We just talked about Xbox Game Pass yesterday as they announced 8 new games will be heading to Xbox Game Pass in the first half of January, which was already a great start for the year, but things have gotten even better since then because they have now revealed 2 more games that will be releasing this month, both day one, and both are incredibly exciting. So let's just go and jump right into this, starting off with a smaller release here being Nobody Saves the World. Yeah, Nobody Saves the World will be releasing directly into Xbox Game Pass on January 18th, and this is a really interesting title for various reasons. One being this is actually coming from a well-known independent studio that has made some fantastic games in the past, including Mutant Blob's Attack, Guacamelee, which is among the best Metroidvania games, period, and then also Severed. Interestingly enough, all 3 of these games are drastically different, with Mutant Blob's Attack being a platformer, then you have Guacamelee, again, that's a Metroidvania, and then Severed is actually a dungeon crawler. But here with Nobody Saves the World, this is actually their take on the action RPG formula, and what a wild looking game this is. The whole thing about this game is that you can play as different characters with their own unique abilities. There are more than 15 in total, including a zombie, a horse, a bodybuilder, a dragon, and the list just kind of goes on and on. But where this game is really unique is that you can combine all of these characters to create a completely new playstyle. If you want to play as a zombie horse, you can very much do that. If you want to play as a bodybuilder dragon, hey, you can do that as well. That's where this game is going to get really insane and creative, and it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, as just a little bit of a bonus here, this is also a cooperative game, and that's one of the things I've always really liked about Xbox Game Pass. When it comes to these multiplayer games, if both you and your friend has Xbox Game Pass, we don't have to pressure each other to pick up a game. Instead, you can download this game day one at no extra charge if you have Xbox Game Pass and just have a blast together playing. And really just knowing the pedigree of Drinkbox Game, the studio that's working on Nobody Saves the World, knowing just how good their games have been in the past, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Nobody Saves the World ends up being a special release, so you might want to keep an eye out for this one, which again will be releasing on January 18th. Now, if you're looking more for a big AAA game, though, we do have some news on that front as well, as Rainbow Six Extraction has now been officially announced to be heading over to Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, as well as Cloud on January 20th. Yes, this is a day one release, and this is absolutely huge. This is coming from a major franchise. Rainbow Six Siege is actually one of the best competitive multiplayer games on the market right now, so to see it head over to Xbox Game Pass day one, this is a really nice surprise and a very welcome one for Xbox Game Pass subscribers. I also think this is a smart move by Ubisoft and a good fit for Xbox Game Pass. Of course, Rainbow Six Siege is an absolutely fantastic game, one of the best competitive shooters in the market, or at least in my opinion, but Extraction is a little bit different. This is actually a cooperative style of game with 3-player squads. Previously, there didn't really seem to be a lot of hype and buzz surrounding Rainbow Six Extraction, but that's one of the things that we have seen with day one Xbox Game Pass games in the past. A lot of these games do come to the service day one, and they end up being very successful as word of mouth gains a lot of traction by heading over to Game Pass, and then on top of that, you're just injecting a massive user base right into your game from the very beginning. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see how this works out going forward for Ubisoft. Interestingly enough, though, Ubisoft wasn't done with the announcements there, because they also announced that Ubisoft Plus will be heading over to Xbox. Not Xbox Game Pass, so don't get that confused, but Ubisoft Plus, the subscription service, will be heading over to Xbox, and this is where you can play Ubisoft games in their subscription service. Ubisoft Plus does have more than 100 games in their service, and it goes for $15 a month, though as of this moment, we don't have an exact release date for the Xbox version, nor do we have the price. So we'll kind of have to wait and see about that, but it is good news to see that Ubisoft Plus will be heading over to Xbox later on down the road. So definitely keep an eye out for that if you do like Ubisoft games. Now, we do also have some big PlayStation news today, as they did reveal some new hardware, being the PlayStation VR2. Yes, they officially announced this thing over at CES in a pretty surprising reveal, alongside a pretty exciting game as well. We'll get into that here in just a moment. First, though, we will kind of go over some of the PlayStation VR2 specs and key features when it comes to this device, and it does appear that most of the rumors that's been swirling around very much was accurate after all. Some of the key features that they're touting right now would include a wider field of view with 110 degrees. It does, after all, have foveated rendering, which we've talked about this in the past, but this one is really interesting. What this does is that it actually tracks your eye to see what you're looking at, and then it reduces the rendering workload by greatly reducing the image quality in the peripheral vision. So this could impact the visuals here, which is why it's so exciting. But then the other one that I'm personally really excited about is haptic feedback is coming over to VR gaming. This is something that we've seen with the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller, which, I mean, they do a great job with the controller in general, but to see that head over to VR gaming, virtual reality is all about its immersion, and by having haptic feedback, this could really just add an extra layer of immersion on top of everything else. So I really like this inclusion here. Now, as for the specs, I'm going to include an image here to kind of give a full list of what you should expect. It does include an OLED display. It's 2000 by 2040 pixels per eye. The panel refresh rate is at 90 hertz to 120 hertz. And I mean, this is sounding like a pretty nice device here. And the big question now is, what is the price and when will it release? As of this moment, Sony has not announced either one of those things. So we'll still kind of have to wait on those, but hopefully they can give us an affordable price when they do eventually announce that. Now, one of the most exciting things that they announced here, though, was actually a virtual reality game. Of course, you can have this VR headset, but you need the games, and this is something that I was wondering, are they still going to be committed to VR with their first-party studios? In the past, they've actually made some of the best VR games in the market, including Blood and Truth, as well as Astrobot, and it very much does appear that they're going to try to continue that as they announced a brand new VR game coming from the Horizon franchise. Yes, Horizon Forbidden West is not the only Horizon game around the corner, as they have now announced Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation VR 2. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a release date for this game just yet, and they didn't really show much in the way of gameplay. Rather, they just showed a small teaser, but they are saying that this game is going to embrace a new level of immersion and a unique experience designed to push hardware technology, innovation, and gameplay. The most exciting part about all of this, though, is that it is being developed by their first-party studios being Guerrilla Games and then Firesprite. Now, Firesprite is a studio that they've acquired here recently, and we do know that they can make some good virtual reality games. They did develop Persistence in the past, which is a good horror-based VR title, so it will be exciting to see what they do here with Horizon Call of the Mountain. Now, that is one other thing that we do know about this game, is that you will play as a completely new character. You will not be playing as Aloy, but yeah, if you like the Horizon franchise, or if you want to explore the world of Horizon, which is just such a beautiful and fascinating world, I think it's going to be a beautiful experience in VR if they do it right. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, if Valve learned to count to 3, which game would you prefer they make? They do have a tendency of just not making a third title for some of these beloved franchises. There's some really amazing games that deserves a third game here, so I wanted to see which one you all want to see the most, and well, as you can see here, 52% of you all voted for Half-Life 3, second place was Left 4 Dead 3 with 20%, then third place was Portal 3 at 19%, then Team Fortress 3 at 5%, and then at the bottom was Dota 3 at 3%. So I'm not really overly surprised that Half-Life 3 came out on top here, as this is a game that fans have been asking for such a long time. And really, the story's not finished, so eventually, are we ever going to see an official Half-Life 3? Of course, we did get Half-Life Alyx on VR headsets, which turned out to be a really, really good game, but even then, we still want to see more of that story with Half-Life 3, so hopefully we will get that one eventually. As for myself, though, the one that I would go with is Portal 3. I love the Portal franchise personally, and I consider them to be among the best puzzle games ever made. I think they're absolutely fantastic. They're completely unique. I love the sense of humor, so I would love to see a Portal 3, even though I think it does make more sense to do a Half-Life 3. One way or the other, though, we really got to take Valve to school to, maybe learn to count to 3. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.